6 hip-hop legends. 6 unbelievable stories of survival, power, and generational wealth. These aren't just rappers. They are the absolute masters of the craft who changed the world with nothing but a microphone. If you think you know the real stories behind the biggest icons in music history, think again. Let's dive in. First, Tupac Shakur. Tupac. What happens when you mix a revolutionary spirit, a poet's heart, and the raw, unfiltered reality of the streets? You get Tupac, the undisputed, eternal icon of hip-hop. Born in East Harlem, New York, as Lesane Parish Crooks, Tupac was practically born into the struggle. His mother, Afeni Shakur, and several family members were active members of the Black Panther Party. This heavy background of political activism deeply shaped his worldview. Moving to Baltimore and later to Marin City, California, Tupac studied acting, poetry, and jazz, showcasing a brilliant artistic mind long before he ever touched a professional microphone. He broke into the music industry as a roadie and backup dancer for the alternative rap group Digital Underground. But the world wasn't ready for what happened when he went solo. Dropping Tupacalypse Now in 1991, he immediately drew controversy and praise for tackling police brutality and teenage pregnancy. Tupac's career was a chaotic masterpiece of duality. On one side, he was a sensitive poet singing Dear Mama and Keep Your Head Up. On the other, he was the defiant face of Death Row Records, fueling the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry. After surviving a 1994 shooting in New York while serving a prison sentence, his album Me Against the World hit #1 on the Billboard charts, making him the first artist to achieve this while incarcerated. Upon his release, he dropped hip-hop's first ever solo double album, All Eyes on Me, which went diamond. Beyond music, Pac was a brilliant actor, starring in cult classics like Juice and Poetic Justice. Tragically, his life was cut short at just 25 years old in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in September 1996. Even decades after his passing, his poetry, political foresight, and raw passion make him the most influential figure the genre has ever seen. Second, the notorious B.I.G, Biggie Smalls. He only released one studio album during his lifetime, but with a single masterpiece. This Brooklyn giant resurrected New York hip-hop and redefined the art of the lyrical flow forever. Christopher Wallace, known to the world as Biggie Smalls or the Notorious B.I.G, grew up in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, as an only child raised by his Jamaican immigrant mother, Valletta Wallace. Christopher was a top student, but soon found himself enticed by the fast-paced, dangerous lifestyle of the 1980s crack epidemic. Standing over 6'3" and possessing a booming, unmistakable baritone voice, he started rapping on street corners for fun. A raw demo tape he recorded caught the attention of the Source magazine and a young, ambitious producer named Sean Puffy Combs. When Puffy founded Bad Boy Records, Biggie became his flagship artist, changing the trajectory of modern music. In 1994, Biggie dropped his debut album, Ready to Die, at a time when the West Coast completely dominated the airwaves. Biggie single-handedly brought the spotlight back to the East Coast. The album was a cinematic experience, balancing dark, gritty street tales like Everyday Struggle with massive, smooth radio hits like Juicy and Big Papa. What made Biggie legendary was his effortless flow. He never wrote his lyrics down on paper, composing complex internal rhyme schemes entirely in his head. He became a fashion icon, introducing luxury brands into hip-hop culture. Tragically, at the height of his success and amidst the bitter coastal feud, Biggie was assassinated in Los Angeles in March 1997. At age 24, his double-disc sophomore album, Life After Death, was released just 16 days later, hitting #1 and cementing his status as the ultimate master of storytelling. Third, Jay-Z. He didn't just survive the concrete jungle. He bought it, from selling on the corner to owning the corner office. This is the story of hip-hop's first billionaire. Sean Carter grew up in the notorious Marcy projects of Brooklyn, New York. Raised by a single mother after his father abandoned the family, Sean lived a dangerous street life during the height of the crack era, a dark reality he would later dissect with surgical precision in his music. going by the name Jay-Z as a nod to his mentor Jay-Z and the J/Z subway lines near his home. He couldn't get a major record label to sign him. Undeterred, he showcased the ultimate hustler's mentality. He sold CDs right out of the trunk of his car and co-founded his own independent label, Rockefeller Records, alongside Damon Dash and Kareem "Biggs" Burke. In 1996, he released his debut album, Reasonable Doubt, which is now widely regarded as one of the greatest, most sophisticated mafioso rap albums ever created. Jay-Z's longevity is completely unmatched in the music industry. Over 3 decades, he evolved from a street-smart lyricist into a global cultural architect. Masterpieces, like The Blueprint, released on the infamous date of September 11, 2001, and the Black Album, established him as a lyrical titan who could dominate both underground battles and mainstream radio. He holds the record for the most #1 albums by a solo artist on the Billboard 200, with 14 chart toppers. But Jay-Z's genius extends far beyond the booth. He became the president of Def Jam Recordings, founded the entertainment agency Rockmation, launched luxury champagne brands, and invested heavily in tech. By bridging the gap between hip-hop culture and corporate America, Jay-Z proved that rap music could be a gateway to generational wealth and global leadership. Fourth, Nas. At just 20 years old, a young street poet from Queensbridge wrote a musical holy book so perfect, it became the gold standard against which all hip-hop is measured. Nasir Jones was born in Brooklyn, but raised in the Queensbridge houses of Long Island City, the largest public housing development in North America. Music was in his DNA. His father, Oludara, was a highly accomplished jazz and blues musician. Nas dropped out of school in the 8th grade, but the streets became his university. He spent his youth reading voraciously, studying religious texts, and observing the complex human drama unfolding outside his window. He burst onto the underground rap scene with a mind-blowing guest verse on Main Source's 1991 track, Live at the Barbecue. The sheer maturity, vocabulary, and vivid imagery of this teenager caught the ear of Columbia Records, setting the stage for a cultural shift. In 1994, Nas released Illmatic, backed by a dream team of producers like DJ Premier, Pete Rock, and Large Professor. The album was a flawless, poetic masterpiece that changed the mechanics of rap lyricism forever. Nas wrote with the precision of a photojournalist, painting hauntingly beautiful pictures of urban survival. Throughout his career, he continued to push boundaries, surviving one of the most high-profile rap battles in history against Jay-Z in 2001, responding with the legendary diss track, Ether. Albums like It Was Written and Stillmatic kept him at the absolute top of the genre, proving that true art only ages like fine wine. Nas teamed up with producer Hit Boy in the 2020s to release the King's Disease and Magic series, finally winning his long-overdue Grammy Award and proving that his pen is just as sharp today as it was 30 years ago. Fifth, Eminem, a high school dropout from the trailers of Detroit who used his childhood trauma and an explosive alter ego to tear down racial barriers and become the highest-selling rapper in human history. Marshall Mathers III endured an incredibly turbulent childhood. Born in Missouri and bouncing between public housing and trailer parks, he and his mother eventually settled in a predominantly black neighborhood in Detroit, Michigan. Marshall faced severe bullying, poverty, and a deeply unstable home life. Finding solace in hip-hop, he spent hours studying the dictionary to master internal rhymes and began competing in fierce underground rap battles at Detroit's hip-hop shop. Despite facing intense rejection as a white artist in a black-dominated genre, his relentless drive took him to the 1997 Rap Olympics in Los Angeles. He placed second, but a copy of his Slim Shady EP found its way into the hands of legendary producer Dr. Dre. Dre took a massive gamble on the unknown artist, and the music world was never the same again. Eminem introduced the world to Slim Shady, a dark, satirical, and maniacal alter ego that allowed him to vent his frustrations with zero filters. His major label debut, the Slim Shady LP, 1999, became an instant global phenomenon. He followed it up with the Marshall Mathers LP in 2000, which sold a staggering 1.76 million copies in its first week alone, breaking records for the fastest-selling solo album in U.S. history. With The Eminem Show and his Oscar-winning biographical film 8 Mile, featuring the Diamond-certified anthem Lose Yourself, Eminem became a global pop culture juggernaut. With over 220 million records sold worldwide, multiple Grammy Awards, and a reputation for unmatched lyrical speed and complexity, Eminem shattered the glass ceiling of hip-hop and proved its universal power. 6th, Lil Wayne. Signed at 11 years old, he bypassed a normal childhood to become a lyrical alien, single-handedly inventing the modern mixtape era and carrying the entire music industry on his back. Dwayne Michael Carter Jr. grew up in Hollygrove, a poverty-stricken neighborhood in New Orleans, Louisiana. A certified child prodigy, Dwayne was a straight-A student but possessed an obsessive passion for rap. At just 11 years old, he caught the attention of Brian "Birdman" Williams, the co-founder of Cash Money Records. Wayne would leave countless freestyles on Birdman's voicemail until the mogul finally signed him as the youngest artist on the roster. He debuted as part of the group Hot Boys alongside Juvenile and B.I.G, quickly drawing attention for his raw energy. When he went solo with The Block is Hot in 1999, the world realized that this young teenager from the South wasn't just a novelty act, he was a force of nature. Lil Wayne's run in the mid to late 2000s is widely considered the most prolific era any artist has ever had. He stopped writing down his lyrics entirely, stepping up to the microphone and rapping purely off instinct and freestyle flow. He completely dominated the culture through an endless flood of legendary underground mixtapes like Dedication 2 and A Drought 3, jumping on other artists' songs and completely outshining them. This legendary momentum culminated in 2008 with the Carter 3, a historic album that sold over 1 million copies in its very first week and yielded global anthems like A Milli and Lollipop. Beyond his own massive commercial success and unmatched mastery of metaphors and punchlines, Wayne founded Young Money Entertainment, discovering and mentoring two of the biggest artists of the next generation, Drake and Nicki Minaj. From the concrete projects of New York to the trailers of Detroit, these 6 icons proved that your background doesn't define your destiny, your hustle does. But now, I want to hear from you. Who is your personal GOAT, greatest of all time? Did your favorite rapper make the list, or did I leave someone out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe for more legendary hip-hop breakdowns. And I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.